So Representative Jake Auchincloss is among the group of lawmakers who have voiced their support for Israel since the initial strikes from Hamas this weekend. And Congressman Auchincloss joins us now. Congressman, thank you so much for speaking with us this morning. First, you know, the attack happened on the last day of a Jewish holiday, and it was unprovoked. How concerning is this, and what would you like to see the U.S. do in response?
Good morning. For those of us in the Jewish community and with friends and family in Israel, this surprise assault by land, air, and sea has echoes of the Yom Kippur War 50 years ago when Egypt and Syria attacked Israel brutally. Israel was ultimately successful in its response. I expect that Israel is going to be successful in this response as well. But that's going to require that United States leaders and other allies do not prematurely call for de-escalation. This is not a both sides issue. One side is raping young girls and executing civilians. The other side is trying to protect its territorial integrity. The United States did not de-escalate after Pearl Harbor. And so the Israeli military is going to require the latitude to reestablish deterrence and to root out the nodes of terrorism in the Gaza Strip.
You know, and so we've been seeing, you know, the president and others calling for a ceasefire. Do you, is that what you're calling for as well? And how long do you think it'll take to achieve that?
A ceasefire is the ultimate goal, and I have also called for the Biden administration to be in close concert with Israeli leadership to help effectuate one. However, a ceasefire is only sustainable when, one, Israel has been able to retake its own territory, and two, when Israel has been able to reestablish deterrence and a sustainable security situation by attacking the nodes of terrorism in Gaza and rooting out those factions in Hamas that have launched this attack. I think Israel is going to also have to be cognizant of the threat across the Lebanese border from Hezbollah. So they have their hands full right now, and what they need from U.S. policymakers is not both sidesism that says, oh, we just need to, end the cycle of violence and both sides need to lay down their arms. No. One side launched this attack. One side killed civilians. The other side is trying to restore peace and security. And the United States needs to be clear that we are on the side of Israel in this situation.
And, the U.S. already has put in so much resources and money into the war in Ukraine. And so now, obviously, you want to see so much support for Israel. Is this sustainable? Could this last a long time? And how important is the U.S. support in this?
Critical. The United States sends $3.5 billion every year. That money is saving lives as we speak through Iron Dome, which is shooting down rockets being fired from Gaza. The United States should send further aid as appropriate and as requested by the Israeli government. And I want to put these numbers in context for the American people. The United States military budget every year is in the ballpark of $800 billion. We've spent a little bit north of $100 billion in Ukraine, and like I said, about $3.5 billion every year for Israel. These are decimal points on what we spend annually for our defense budget, and yet there's a tremendous return on investment from our national security perspective. In Israel, we have a linchpin of security for the broader Middle East. The normalization talks with Saudi Arabia, for example, are premised on our strong relationship with Israel. And in Ukraine, we have sent a message to dictators, not just in the Kremlin and in Tehran, but also in Beijing, that the United States is going to stand with freedom and democracy the world over. The United States must continue to support people fighting for democracy wherever they are under assault.
And Congressman, we just want to talk to you briefly real quick about the migrant situation here in the state. So switching gears here, Governor Maura Healey is asking the federal government for help as shelters are filling up quickly. And we've learned the Department of Homeland Security is sending a team here to assess the situation. Do you know when they'll be getting here and how much help they'll be able to offer?
On the logistics, I'll defer to the governor's office and the Department of Homeland Security, but I've been encouraging the Biden administration to send that assessment team. I think it's important that senior administration officials are on the ground, seeing and hearing in consult with state officials just the severity and urgency of the crisis that we're facing. The Bay State's been welcoming refugees for 400 years. We're going to continue to do that. I'm proud of that tradition, but we need help. We need help on cutting the red tape around work authorization so that these migrants can go to work, which will help our employers, which will help the migrants, which will relieve the burden on the taxpayer. And we also need federal funding. It's costing us about $45 million a month here in the Commonwealth. Federal government has sent about $2 million. That's a mismatch that needs to be rectified. But ultimately, this problem belongs to Congress. Congress has failed to legislate on comprehensive immigration reform for decades. It has now rolled on to mayors and select board. That's unfair. I'm a co-sponsor of bipartisan legislation that would address this root cause: asylum and visa reform, border security, root causes of poverty and crime in the countries of origin. We need to bring that legislation to the floor for a vote as soon as the Republican conference stops fighting with itself and starts trying to govern for the American people.
Well, Congressman, we know you're very busy, but thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Have a great day.
Thank you, you too. All right.